Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's my privilege to sit down with Ashley Brooker. She's an MSUD mom from Pennsylvania and a dedicated volunteer with our MSUD Ambassador Program. She plays a vital role in raising funds about MSUD and awareness, as well as sharing her family's journey and advocating for better support and resources for those affected by this condition. And I'm so glad we were able to sit down and have a couple minutes of your time, Ashley. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about your family's journey with MSUD and how it's impacted your daily life?
Of course. So, starting at the very beginning, I've been married to my husband, John, for a long time now, since 2009. And we have a 13-year-old daughter named Faye, who was born completely healthy. We did the newborn screening. We never did pre-genetics, anything like that. Perfectly healthy, amazing little girl. And then we wanted to expand our family, and we had Johnny. Same easy pregnancy, same easy everything. It just so happened his newborn screening came back and flagged for MSUD at 4 days old. Um, that was one of the most terrifying days of my life. I will never forget that I remember telling my husband the day before we had Johnny's follow up visit at the pediatrician, like that first visit after you leave the hospital to make sure they're gaining weight, all that good stuff. I remember saying to John, please don't go back to work tomorrow. I just had this feeling like, please don't go back to work. Like, just please don't. And he went back. He was working 2 hours away from home at the time. And we went to the pediatrician. The visit went really well. Johnny looked healthy. He was, other than being kind of fussy, he was nursing well. He was great. At I had just laid him down for a nap that afternoon, and at 1:01 p.m., I will never forget it, my pediatrician called, and she knew me so well because we'd been with her since Faye was born, and Faye was a little over 3 at the time. She said, Ashley, I need you to sit down. I have something to tell you, but I don't want you to panic, and I do not want you to Google this. She said, Johnny's newborn screening came back for a disease called maple syrup urine disease. You need to pack bags, and you need to get to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia immediately. She said, all this means is he will have a very strict diet for the rest of his life that will have to be monitored really closely, but you need to get to Philadelphia now. And I think I called John, and I don't think he could understand more than 2 words of what I said. Um, and he was home as fast as he could be, and we drove 2.5 hours to the hospital. We were taken back immediately to an emergency room. They put an IV in Johnny, started him on a special formula called Ketonex, which I had no idea what it was. And we met his metabolic and genetic team for the first time. They confirmed diagnosis. And within 24 hours, we were learning how to manage this extremely rare disease that our little newborn boy had.
Wow, that's incredible. And to be so, new to all of it and stressed and not knowing where to turn, what were some of your biggest challenges those first couple months?
The first couple months, the biggest challenges for us were the monitoring of leucine. Because babies are so rapidly growing, their leucine levels are never stable the first couple months. I'm going to say the first 18 months of his life, we spent more time in the hospital admitted than we did at home, just because maintaining that stable leucine as quickly as they grow and as much as they want to eat and this and that, it was really hard to keep him stable. Um, so we were in and out of admissions like crazy, but that became, sadly, that became our normal. And it became second nature, and the hospital became our home away from home, where you get to know everybody and they all know who Johnny is and watch him grow. It was scary thinking about what his life would look like. Would this disease impact him neurologically? Did he suffer any brain damage from the 4 days before it went diagnosed? What would his diet look like? Because we chose dietary management. What does that look like for him? Are there things that we can buy at the store that he'll be able to eat? What does inclusion look like for him at school? I remember one of my first thoughts was, how will he walk through a school lunch line and get a school lunch like the rest of his peers? And it's just crazy the things that you think of when something like this hits you, that typical parents who have healthy, typical kids don't have to think about or ever worry about, that those of us who have rare kids go through and think of literally every day from the day that they're diagnosed. The other hard part was because MSUD is so rare. Now, granted, we're in Pennsylvania and there's a lot of families in Pennsylvania who have MSUD. We still didn't know. I knew of no one else who had a child with MSUD at that time. And that to me was huge. I needed to have a friend who had a child who has walked this path or is currently walking this path to learn from. Um, that's because that's who I am. John is not like that. John was very much, I am the provider. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to make sure that you and the family are okay. This is what I do. And then I was the one that was like, I need the friend, the support group, so that I know Johnny's going to be okay.
I'm sure you had moments where you just felt alone because you didn't know where to turn, you didn't have a support network. How did you find the MSUD Family Support Group?
Facebook. Facebook was, I remember one day when I was ready to reach out and figure out if there was anyone I could connect to. I went to Facebook and I just randomly searched maple syrup urine disease and MSUD, and I found the support group. And I think my first post was possibly just introducing who Johnny was. And immediately there was another family whose daughter had just been diagnosed. They lived down in the Carolinas. And another mom who they had moved from California to Pittsburgh for care for their daughter, who has MSUD, and we immediately connected. And then there were a few others who had older kids who had MSUD, who were such a massive support because they showed me how normal a kid's life could be, even with the dietary restrictions and the monitoring and the hospital admissions and the we have to be careful when they get sick and this and that. They showed me, like, my daughter plays soccer. She's on this elite soccer team. She has a completely normal life. She's in high school. She's doing fantastic. She's now in college. Um, Others who are playing baseball or soccer, just doing typical things that when your kid is diagnosed with this disease, the doctors don't really tell you that they will be able to do. And a lot of those people that I connected with back then, we are still incredible friends to this day. And I think that they are lifelong friends because we share a bond that so few people share.
It sounds like the MSUD Family Support Group gave you a chance at hope for the
Yeah.
future, not only with Johnny, but your whole family. And I think that's really important when you're starting out and everything is so new and very scary and stressful.
I agree. I agree. And I'll say too, it's a great place also for siblings of kids who have this disease, because so many of those who are diagnosed with MSUD, many have a sibling who came before them who didn't have it. And there are some who are the oldest in their family and they have younger siblings who don't have MSUD. And I know it's a struggle for Faye some days. Even though she understands it, she accepts Johnny, she adores her brother. She understands this disease better than some doctors do. Um, to know that when she is ready to talk to another sibling of in the same situation as her, that I have a support group for her as well to be able to go to, and those siblings get it. They understand and they will listen and they are there. And I think that is invaluable for her.
Yeah. And that's the crux of our mission at the MSUD Family Support Group. Everyone in the family is impacted by this condition, and it's supporting them not only today, but in the future. One last question. What piece of advice would you give for newly diagnosed families?
Oh, I love this question because there's so much advice that I could give. The first thing that I always say, since walking this journey now for almost 10 years, is Your child has a diagnosis, but they are not their diagnosis. Johnny has MSUD, but he is not MSUD. And that is really hard sometimes for, especially, I'm going to say as a mom, for me to cope with sometimes, because part of his identity is MSUD, but he's also Johnny, an almost 10-year-old boy who is funny and rambunctious and loves dinosaurs and loves to golf and play PlayStation and play with his sister. He is so much more than what this doctor placed on him or the box these doctors have put him in. For moms especially, I would say don't let your identity be taken up by your child's diagnosis. It's going to change us, and most of the time it changes us for good because we become extremely resilient and strong and empathetic, and we become mama bears that we never realized we could be because our kids need us. But don't let their diagnosis define every aspect of your life. And remember, this is so cliche, but you have to take care of yourself, or you cannot be there to take care of your kid when they need you the most.
Well said, Ashley. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I appreciate it so much. And it was great to share how you're an MSUD ambassador. Thank you so much for what you do, and best wishes to you and your family.
Thank you so much. This was an honor.
Very nice. Very nice.
Have Ed edit out the dogs.
We can't hear them. So yeah,
Really?
if it happens on Friday, just think of
Okay.
we couldn't hear them at all.
Okay, I'm glad, because that's why I said pause, because they were barking. So he can
Yeah.
just, you're a butthead.
Do you want to go one more time just for kicks?
I am afraid they're gonna go crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just that one part. You can just that one line and then
Okay.
just yeah, that's that. Otherwise, it's okay. I didn't know you couldn't hear them, but you're like freaking out. They are across the room most of the time, but
Yeah, I couldn't hear a peep.
good. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't know if we mentioned the incident rate or not.
1 in 185,000.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. I was just making sure, because I
Yeah.
thought we put that on the slide and it'll
Yeah.
match then
Yep.
what we're saying.
I
Okay,
made
cool.
sure to pull because sometimes online you either see 1 in 200,000 or 1 in 185, and I looked at your slide, so I made sure I had the right
Awesome.
statistic that matched yours.
Good. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
If we gave
Yeah.
the worldwide rate, they'd be shocked. It's
Yeah.
like maybe 3,000 people in the world have it, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that, which is none, sadly. Like, I wonder what's the PKU incidence rate?
It's definitely, I think it's like, it's definitely more. And I'll have to Google it because I've seen so much of PKU.
Oh,
Let's see. I want to say it's like at least double from what I remember.
and then Johnny's rate of having both is 0. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's done.
1 in 10,000.
Oh, that's a lot more.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Let me see if I can stop recording. Okay. So